Hello, welcome to session 35 of my Not Your Average Bible Studies. My name is Allie with Amory Speaks, and this is a non-traditional reading of the New Testament by a partial Christian, I guess, dare I say. I have not made that traditional leap, and I'm not part of any sort of traditional church or anything like that. I didn't grow up in that kind of community, really. And so the readings are unique in the way that I might not bring up or say or speak on the same topics or terms that typically come up at church, just because I've never really actually sat for like a sermon before. I just recently started sort of seeing some online, and I'm not going to get into my personal opinion on this kind of thing, but just to say that I am a little for certain different. But thank you so much for listening. If you are a returning listener, I really appreciate your audience and your ear, your heart, your friendship and commitment to these Sacred Sunday practices, listening to scripture. And thank you, for joining to listen to the scripture itself, the Gospels that we're reading, to appreciate that in its traditional sense in our own way today, my own way. I thank myself as well in making them part of this world and part of my world. Something so foreign and different. I'm finding it such a wonderful addition to my Sacred Sunday routine and to getting a deeper connectivity to God in my life. And it's interesting. It's been about a year since I really chose to deepen that practice and open up myself to a committed relationship with God, and to not be ashamed or defensive or offensive in a stance of saying that belief and truth and notion to me. It's a super obtuse angle and attempt of mine from former stances and from a lot of people around me, just in my general life, my upbringing. And so small steps in my own way have brought me here. And I am very happy to be here. Thank you for being here as well and listening. Just for my own time stamping, it is July 27th, 2025, Sunday. Already mentioned that. And we are in session 35. Oh, 5. Sorry, my own side thought there. It's just been my own kind of synchronicities, noticing lately. But anyways, we are picking up in chapter 18. I only got through 7 verses last week, although I had tried to introduce this sort of general not change of direction, but change of speed just a little bit, to read a bit more of the scripture and try to hold my tongue a little bit more. Not on things that, speak, of course, in any free way that I want to, and on things that I really want to speak about, but to also pick up the pace just as slightly. And of course, I kind of put the stick in my own bike wheel, that meme. I did that to myself last week and made it through just 7 verses in chapter 18. But today, hopefully, we'll read a little bit more and still have a good talk, because this is, I got away from mentioning this in last week's, but then after I closed out, I realized I never quite mentioned in my own personal reading, I have completed Matthew and read a little bit into Mark now. And I think I cannot wait, is what I think, to read here, the rest of Matthew, and then to have commentary on Matthew in general for a few, because what a strong gospel it is. And there's a couple of chapters near the end that I just find to be like a roasting session. Jesus is just dropping truth bombs, and it's so it was so eye-opening for me to read, and it is so parallel, like I've mentioned in a bunch of episodes already, to our times in these times today. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into the scripture, because now I've already talked for 5 minutes. 6 actually. So let's see, chapter 18. We're going to pick it up on verse 8. Wherefore, if thy hand or thy foot offend thee, cut them off, and cast them from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life halt or maimed, rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into everlasting fire. And if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life with 1 eye, rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into hellfire. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. For the Son of Man is to come to save that which was lost. How think ye, if a man have 100 sheep, and one of them gone astray, doth he not leave the 99, and goeth into the mountains, and seeketh that which is gone astray? Oh, I love that. And I love that sometimes we forget the love the shepherd has for the sheep. They're like his pets. You know what I mean? They're like his children. He's a steward over them. He's a guardian of them. Think if you could have 99 children. I only have 2. But if one of them went missing, I'm going to the ends of the earth. And that type of deep knowing that just comes with the fact that I would do anything for them, the extension of love that they are to me, my sons. I don't have pets. I mean, I've had probably 1 true beloved pet in my life, which was a cat that lasted about 17 years or so, through my childhood and into my early 20s. And, but I can imagine, sort of extend that out to other animals, and it must be, when you spend time with animals, especially in a farming sense or any other kind of sense, I haven't had that great experience in my life, but I can imagine that there's an extension of that, because anything that you spend every day with and you care for, even my plants, I have this one plant in my window, and it's, I forget what type of plant it is. I'm not going to get up and get the thing. But anyways, and it's not important. In the morning, sometimes it looks very wilted and droopy, especially if it's a cloudier day, and the side of where my room is at, it doesn't catch the sunrise. It catches the afternoon sun. So, but when it's coming towards the afternoon sun, it will always brighten up. And it's so blatantly obvious, but I always think every day, I hope it's going to be okay. I try to I feel for it. I hope it's not dying. And then when it brightens up, I really feel I get a sense of, okay, it feels better. It's itself, and that's a plant. So in the gradient of love and taking care of things around us, to remember that the lesson, the parable here that Jesus is offering is not just one of, okay, well, the sheep matters to me because maybe I make a profit off of it, or it's part of my herd, so therefore I just must go find it, or I'm sort of obligated to go find it. But know that it really truly loves it and is sort of, cares about its well-being, that single sheep, and is, worried about it. It's hoping that it's not, gone and fallen into anything and into any trouble or anything, So just to bring in that great sense, that deep connectivity of unconditional love, I think is a wonderful addition here that I just wanted to put up there. And also because he's just talked about children and little children as well, and like little children and our children, they just inspire such a deep quality of that unconditional love, innocent love, that has this caring stewardship to it, this nurturing of something weaker than, that is dependent on you, for safety and nourishment and growth and all these things. There's such a, to be in that position, there's a sovereign responsibility and accountability. There's such a different type of deep quality love that I can feel. I know there's a difference to it. I feel it, but yeah. Anyways, let's get back into 13. And if so be that he find it, verily I say unto you, he rejoiceth more than that sheep, than of the 99 which went not astray. This thing here I love even too, the way that there's, whatever draws the single sheep away, I guess, is also intentionally in its own sort of flavoring of what and why and how the Father loves the sheep more, or deeper quality, or not, more is probably a worse word for it, because that creates a hierarchy, a gradient of like value within the other sheep or something, and the other sheep, of course, would then feel jealous of this one. It seems it's an undeniable fact that the repercussions of that would cause that, if that were the case. But it's not the case that it creates a greater value, that it creates a deeper exploration of manyness. It creates another sequence of probabilities, of potentialities that just had not happened yet. And that in itself is a righteous discovery. I think that God is the source of all discovery, the source of manyness. It's the infinite intelligence diversifying itself into these finite categories of exploration and development. And so depending on what, the sheep is. There's another parable with the sons, I think, and one of them goes away and comes back and is late, and he loves him even more because of that. He mentions, I forget what exactly the phrasing is on that. Sorry for sort of just giving my own humble summation, but there it is. But then I always think about, like, what about the other sons? And it's just like, which child would I be, and am I? And what does that say about the ones, the steadfast ones that stay? What does it say about patience and temperance? But different things need to be said at different times, I think. It's an exploration of manyness. So therefore, you can't hold a gradient of worth on the exploration. It's just is. in my opinion, and it's yeah. Here I've gone saying I'm not going to start speaking on my own things, and I'm just going off. going to read 13 one more time and then just keep going. And if so be that he find it, verily I say unto you, he rejoice more of that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. I highlighted that one in blue when I had read this originally. It's interesting, the shift of gears, and also this is half the reason we have such drama and issues, that people just don't confront people face to face in an accountable way, in the way that if you were in their shoes, you would want to be approached about whatever kind of wrongdoing, mistake, wrinkle in it, whatever it was, But a lot of times people they can't step out of their own perspective enough to try to imagine that or try to approach another person in that manner. They just want to get the gratification of their emotional surge and their argument, or their being right, or they're caught them in the wrongdoings, or whatever the case is, to finally better get the best of another or something. Or this is something that, of course, I can't not sit here and say I've never done myself. But the fact of the matter is that I'm sick and tired of it and doing it. And that I try to hold myself accountable as much as possible these days. In these last couple of years, at least, I would say 2 to 3 years, I've been more vigilant, more awake to that, and trying to live that golden rule. Even before I started reading the Testament, or decided to, or even had this sort of awakening or communication, so to speak, with Jesus or God, or whatever's brought me to read this in different ways. Just sick and tired of the fighting and poor solutions to problems that deserve better. We all deserve happiness and to live productive, good lives. I think when you start to wake up to your sovereignty and your purpose in life, you want to live it. You want to live for it. And you start to see, the things that are in the way of it. The things that cloud it up, that clunk it around. But again, you can take this advice right straight to yourself, even in your inner brother, your inner self, your inner child, your inner, masculine or feminine, king or queen kind of sides of yourself, to help with balancing, to help with energy alchemy, to transmute yourself to a clearer, cleaner version, closer to your higher self, in balance, right? Whenever you have these sort of conflicts within yourself, or an ugliness rears its head, or a bad habit, or something like that, we can do this. If your brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. And if he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word shall be established. This is another thing that I really love, and I've talked about this on my channel in different ways. If you've followed me for a while, you'll be familiar with my Tower energetic series, and balancing the levels, and sort of based off of chakras, but also deeper connectivity to imagination, and having these bosses within the systems living within the centers, And I go in there, and you bring your higher self with you, bring God with you, bring Jesus with you. And you'd be surprised, your mind will be blown at the solutions, the problem-solving capabilities that you have for yourself. And it becomes great working, tangible skill set when you go to help others, actual others. And when this is very helpful as well, bringing others. His advice here about solving, sort of direct world encounters is so helpful. And just where I work alone, I'm kind of thinking about many things that we have to deal with here. And it's like we go through these stages so much, trying to kind of confront someone who's an issue. First is the person alone, and then you get somebody else. Always have somebody else from the office come with you so that there's a witness, and try to talk sense with them, And if he shall, I'm picking up at 17, sorry. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. I love this. Like, some people you can't fight with. Some people you can't get, because if they won't be reasoned with, closer people in the vicinity, if they're not going to be reasoned with by peers, by social peers, friends, family, if they're not going to be reasoned with by church, if you have church in your family or higher power of some sort, higher authority, if they still won't be reasoned by that, I love it. Heathens and publicans. I love these words. Bringing them back as strong labels to call things as they are these days. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. I'm so tempted to talk on systems here, and positive versus negative system alignments, which is what I feel like he's speaking on. I think it's 22 minutes. One thing that I will just quickly say, is that I have this tag phrase, create freedom, not slavery. And it's so important as creators that we understand that we have the choice point at every creative venture, this reality bubble of whatever the project is, whatever we're making, whatever choice even, to impress upon it. And it is impressed with and infused with our own creative energies as we make the thing, as we go into a project, as we make a promise to someone, we have a relationship or a conversation with someone even. When we step into this, we impress upon it our intentional energies. And what does that really mean? Where's our heart at is kind of what it means. And it's saying, are you stepping into this of free volition as a sovereign individual, son of man, rightful heir to the kingdom, in full respect and awareness of the others who are able to step into this place as well, because we have manifested and chose to create this third-party reality for all of us as a part of humanity to build and create within. So when we step into these things, if we go into it with this sovereign state of freedom, and whatever we choose to create, we understand that it's a creation of its own volition, and that we want it to be free. We want it to be free to develop, to interact, to change, because it's a part of this 3D external space out around us, which is full of change. It follows a current, a flow, a structuring, of course, but it's always changing. And what we allow our creations to do as we are making them, and when we're done with them especially, really has a strong effect on the creator. We sometimes forget this. But when you're making something, if you entangle your own worth in that creation and say that how it comes out is directly reflected on you and you're responsible for it, how everyone sees it and interacts with it is up to you, the creator. And you have to micromanage all these exchanges in the future that happen with all external places and things, people using it or viewing it or anything like that. You got, a lot to do as the creator now, because you got to fully watch that thing all the time. And if you have to do that, unfortunately, you have to give up the right to your own present moment, the freedom that comes with actually being a part of the present moment in your own validity. You're not free to just go about your day now and to go sit outside and listen to the trees and make a new song and do anything like this. No, you're tied to that song you made. You need to go watch how many views there are, how many comments there are. You need to make sure everybody loves it and they hear how much heart you put into it. They better get out of the lyrics what you wrote in the lyrics, or at least something like it. What did they get out of it? Oh, you're wrapped up in all of this. You're never free. How do you create the next song? Yeah, this is sort of a hyper amplified version of it, but it's just a metaphor. But it's to show that this creation of slavery that we get into when we enslave ourselves as the masters of our content or our creations or our relationships, conversations, our business, whatever it is. Because all things, like I said when I started, all things reflect these same system potentialities, the same little reality bubbles. But if you can sovereignly cut ties with that thing and say, yes, I created, I set you free. Go be as you are. Yes, you're in the image of me at the time I made you. You're rightfully yours, but you're free to change and exchange with others. That intention alone is all that's needed. It flips the magnet, so to speak, and it allows each person to be free, to come and go as they please, and they're not tied down to it. Otherwise it's who's coming in and out and checkpoints and all these kind of things, and you'll end up spending all of your time micromanaging those things, and you can't actually do the things that make you feel good. So I think that's what I heard, and that's from my systems teaching, which was, probably I started doing that about a year before I even got into this sort of deciding to read the Bible, just and things. So when I read these words initially, I thought, wow, I love this, the validation of the workings, because it's just truth. Truth never changes, but yet it's always going through metamorphosis. Yeah. Now we're at a half an hour. I think I might just leave it there. I've done the same thing pretty much. I read a little bit more. Yeah, because the next ones I'm just sort of glazing over. They're very good, and I could talk for quite a while on them, so I might save them for next week. Yeah, I think I will. So thank you for listening to this section of chapter 18. I hope you will come next week to hear great verses that are to come. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. If you are finding me on Sunday, if not, whatever day of the week it is, I hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you next time.